Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Today we're going to be setting up Street Masters for solo play. This game is a fully cooperative board game for 1 to 4 players. We'll be playing this in the solo capacity. This game was created by Adam and Brady Sadler from Blacklist Games. So this video, the purpose of this one is going to be to get this game to the table as fast as possible without any rules explanations in the video so that you can quickly set the game up and get going. So without further ado, let's start with step number 1. The very first step of the game setup is to go ahead and choose a fighter. So because I'm playing solo, I'm going to be choosing to play true solo and only use one fighter. There's nothing stopping you from using multiple fighters and playing multi-handed solo. You can do that, but I'm going to go ahead and just choose one. One of the other great things about Street Masters is the fact it comes with dividers. So once you have divided up all the different cards into the appropriate divided spots within the insert, your setup time is going to be drastically reduced to get this to the table, as you're going to be able to simply just go ahead and choose the character you'd like. You can see the 6 fighters here from the base set are all in a row. Whichever one you'd like to choose, you just simply grab the divider, move it forward, and all the cards for that particular character right behind it. You're going to find yourself the character card as well as the deck for the character. We're going to go ahead and set these up on the player mat right now. After selecting the deck that you'd like to use for the fighter, you're going to grab the fighter's card. So in this case, Megan. We're going to place this here in Megan's play area. And we're also going to grab the deck that associates itself with Megan. We're going to place it right here. Make sure to shuffle this deck so that you do not know what is in it and in what order. One thing to watch out for is to ensure that your character card, when placed on the player area, is actually showing the charging side. You'll know this by this blue icon here with a numerical value inside of it. This shows that this card can be charged up over time, and once it reaches its 4 charges, it can be flipped here to its stronger side or powered up side for Megan, which shows kind of an orange background and allows her a different action at the bottom, which is a little bit more powerful. So that's something to keep note of. Make sure that you're on the correct side of the card when you begin your setup, and then also your character deck should be to the left of this character card with room for a discard pile to the left of that. Now we're going to move forward with drawing 4 cards from our character deck. So we'll go ahead and draw those 4 right now. We've got the Flying Knee. So we're going to place them here on this Uber Stack system. If you're not familiar with what this is, it's a very handy system that allows you to keep cards propped up for easy viewing, not only on camera but also off camera. I find these are extremely useful. So we've got all these cards being pulled right now. We're not going to focus on the abilities or what they are or any doubles as we've already gotten here, but there is an interesting mulligan system within the game that allows you to discard cards and redraw at the beginning if you don't like your hand synergy from the start, which is very interesting, but we're going to talk about that and use it at the beginning of the gameplay rather than during the setup. So this particular time we've drawn the 4 cards for Megan. Step number 2 is going to be choosing the enemy deck. So the players are going to collectively, or in this case playing solo, we're going to choose an enemy deck to play against. You can do this a number of different ways. You can play through it logically, you can play through it randomly, you can play through it in a campaign. There's a number of different ways to do this. We're doing this as a one-off scenario, so we can choose whichever group of enemy or enemy deck we would like to go up against. So in this particular case, we're going to go up against the Brotherhood. So we're just going to move forward to that particular divider, and everything behind it we're going to grab. We want to make sure that inside of this deck that we have the major boss or enemy that we're going to be flying against. In this case, it's Dimitri. And then, of course, we're going to have the Brotherhood cards that follow in behind it, a number of them. And we're going to go ahead and start setting this up on the game board right now. Once you have your enemy deck selected, you're going to want to go ahead and grab the boss card, and you're going to want to place that boss card, in this case Dimitri, in an area that has room around him, not only to the left and right, but also above, because there'll be some attachments and enhancements to his card, which will be laying underneath of him. You'll also, to the right of his card, potentially have objectives or things like that that come as part of the scenario that you'll want to have out in the open. And then to the left of Dimitri's card, we're actually going to be placing the enemy deck itself that correlated to the boss, which is the Brotherhood in this case. Now, you don't want to shuffle it just yet because there's one major step you have to do first, and that's actually looking through the deck that you've chosen, this enemy deck. And we're going to go through it, and we'll not be looking for anything for event-wise or gear-wise for this keyword. We're looking for minions, and every time you find a minion, you're going to want to find the correlated miniature that's in the box, and you're also going to want to get the color base that's based on the color of the card itself. So we're going to want to find Boris in red. So we find the miniature right here that matches his art on the card, which is straightforward. So you can see that matches perfectly, and the color of the base, and we snap it on. These bases are actually quite easy to take on and off, so you don't have to worry about wear and tear or anything like that. They're actually easy. They don't even click, they just fit on there perfectly, and they will not come off. Once you have every single minion from the Brotherhood deck pulled out and you've actually colored them correctly, you're going to have a whole set ready to go for your scenario, depending on which scenario you're playing. And these are going to change every single time you play, depending on which enemy deck you're using. So once you've got all of the miniatures set up correctly and all the color bases in place, you've now officially set up the enemy deck. And you can go ahead now and shuffle this Brotherhood deck completely, getting rid of all the miniatures and maybe putting them off to the side of the board. You can shuffle all these cards together, and when this deck is fully shuffled, place it to the left of the boss card. Step number 3 is going to have you choose a stage. You get to choose whatever stage you'd like in a one-off situation. So I'm going to go ahead with Gone Ballistic, and you're going to see a double-sided card, which is very important because it has stage rules on the back. We'll talk about that more during gameplay. You're going to want to place this one in the stage area. So I'm going to place this on this particular Uberstacks tray. We'll be referencing this later on. The rest of the stage deck you can just go ahead and place in its own separate area. I kind of like placing it just above where Dimitri's going to sit or our boss card's going to sit, and we're also going to have room for a discard pile to the left, as well as an area to put all our stage cards into play across this Uberstacks rack so that everybody can see during gameplay. And be sure to give your Gone Ballistic stage deck a really good shuffle before you begin play. Moving into step number 4, we're going to set up the map. So we're going to find the corresponding tile that matches the stage setup card that we have in our stage area. So this one is Gone Ballistic. So we'll be looking for that tile within the base game, and we'll be placing it here in the center of the table. Finding the correct tile is very easy, as the stage and the name of the stage are in the bottom right hand corner of every single tile in the game, and they're all double-sided. As long as it matches the stage setup name, you're set. And I also, just so you guys are aware, added in a couple pieces here to make the gameplay a little more exciting. This is just a visual enhancements, not part of the base game, but I have some broken boards and some pallets and things like that on the board because we are currently in a warehouse. So I thought that was kind of cool to add those in on the side, but those are not included within the base game at all. And so at this particular point, what we're going to do is we're going to move into actually populating the board itself with objectives and the actual player figures. So as you can see here, we have the Gone Ballistic stage. We've got some interesting pallets and things like that laying around. I'm also going to be adding in some extra things on the side just to kind of spice it up, make it look like it's an actual warehouse. So we kind of have a dumpster outside with a bunch of wood scattered around. I'll drop some pallets out here as if I've made a mess. Really what we're doing is just trying to add a little bit of spice to the playthrough and make sure it looks really, really cool. Street Masters has a great theme, so you might as well have fun with it and add whatever you have to proxy and some extra things to really, really make it pop. So the next step we're going to do that is part of the setup is we're going to go ahead and grab the crate tokens. So first off, we have a number of crate token icons on the actual board, which need to be populated with a crate token. Now, the crate tokens look like this in the base game, but there are a lot of games as well as a lot of options out there for crates. So you can proxy in a crate that's an actual plastic piece if you'd like. So I'm going to actually use some Top Shelf Gamer crates from the Arkham Horror series because they're literally perfect. So I'm going to just put them on top, and that just makes it even more visual, and they pop even better on the board. So I'm going to put one in every one of the spaces that show a crate, and then we'll be all set. All right, we've set up all 5 crates as denoted by the icons on the particular tile. And again, remember, all the tiles may be laid out differently, but you're just looking for this particular icon and putting crates, typically the token, or if you want to proxy something in that makes it look even better, on top of it. So we have 5 in the Gone Ballistic scenario, and we've set those all up correctly. The next thing you're going to be looking for is the boss starting space, and this space is way up here. If you're wondering what the boss starting icon looks like on the map, it looks just like this. So we're going to take Dimitri's miniature here, and we're going to place him right on his starting spot to begin the playthrough. Lastly, each fighter that's playing in the game, and in this case we're playing solo, is going to choose from which of the available starting spots, denoted by a joystick, kind of similar to the old arcade games. You can choose any of these spots to start your fighter in. As I'm playing true solo, I only have one miniature, and it is Megan's miniature. She's got quite a cool miniature at that. So we're going to place her right here on the far left side, as I'm aiming to maybe go for this crate on the far left. Moving right into step number 5, we're going to prepare the token pools, dice, and loot cards. But first we'll focus on the token pool. So we have this token pool right here. It consists of damage tokens, which are all these ones with numerical values on them, 1, 5, 10, 25. We've got 5 objective tokens, and we've got some defense tokens in different capacities. One is a grapple token, one is a fist or punch token, and one is a kick or foot token. These are all used for defense, these ones right here. So when you defend using one of these tokens on your character card, you're going to flip them to the charge side, and that's going to allow you to power up your character. We'll talk more about that during the gameplay, but this can be used not only on your character in terms of the defense tokens, but enemies as well. So that covers the token section of step number 5. Let's move over to the dice. So let's continue on here with the dice for step number 5. Of course, you need dice in order to play Street Masters. You should have in the base game 4 white dice and 4 red dice. You're going to need these handy because you'll be rolling them quite a bit for not only the enemies or boss attacks, you're going to be also having your character using these throughout abilities, cards, and actions throughout the gameplay. So make sure you have a pool of dice ready to roll at a moment's notice. The last thing you need for step number 5 is the loot deck. It looks like this and has a crate symbol on the front of the card. You're going to want to go ahead and you're going to shuffle these and place them somewhere nearby. So for this particular situation, maybe we'll place them just like this. And as we gain crates within the game, we'll be able to go to the loot deck and hope to find something of value. Ensure you shuffle those so you don't know the order that they're going to come in. The last step in this setup is going to be dealing the turn card, and the turn card is essentially a reference card. It has a fighter turn on one side, it has an enemy turn on the opposite, as well as a stage turn. This is going to show you how a full round transpires inside of the game Street Masters. You're going to want to keep this card very close to where your character is set up. I kind of prefer putting it underneath my character card. We're going to be using this during the first bit of the playthrough to get used to how the phases go and what actions we can take. But that's it. We have now set up Street Masters completely. With the Street Masters setup complete, the last thing I want to talk about is the different areas of play, because it's very important you know all the different areas of play within Street Masters, as the cards specifically reference them as the gameplay goes along. So I'm going to quickly go over the 3 or 4 different areas of play, and that'll wrap up this setup video. The first area of play is going to be your fighter's play area. That's going to be everything to the right of your fighter's card. What's going to end up here is going to be all the cards that you happen to play from your hand are going to be placed here until they're either removed from a game effect or removed because you choose to use them for a game effect. But they're considered the fighter player area right here to the right of the character card. Right above this particular row is called the fighter threat area. Basically, cards that come from this Brotherhood deck, which may be specific minions, will be flipped and minions will be placed above this particular fighter play area. So that way you know which minions are currently assigned to which fighter. When you're playing solo, this doesn't matter as much because everything's going to be assigned to the one character you're playing. If I was playing solo multi-handed though and had 2 fighters in play, it would matter quite a bit, as it would assign to either or depending on the situation. But in this case, Megan will be the assigned for every single minion that comes into play. If the game or a card references the enemy play area, it's specifically talking about the area beside the boss card to the right. So in this case, Dimitri is our boss, so this area right here is called the enemy play area. This is where we'll be placing cards specific to that wording. The last play area is called the stage area, and that's this right here. We're going to use this Uberstacks row as the stage area, so you can see we have our double-sided stage setup card, which is going to sit here. We've got some stage rules, which we'll reference at the beginning of our playthrough in order to fully finish setting up anything that we need to specific to the scenario. You're always going to want to reference those stage rules to be sure that you've got everything correctly set up on the particular tile. And again, we have the stage deck down below this time because we're using the Uberstacks in order to give a better view of what's going on in that stage row, with a discard pile space to the left of it for any stage cards we've already gone through during gameplay. So that's going to wrap it up. That is the complete setup for Street Masters from Adam and Brady Sadler from Blacklist Games. I'm really excited to get into the playthrough, guys. I hope you guys are as well. Hopefully this was very useful in helping you get the game to the table. It does show just how easy it really is to get Street Masters up and going from a solo play perspective, as everything is neatly organized inside the core game box, allowing for quick and easy setup and also a multitude of replayability. So I'm really excited for this one. Hope you guys are too. I'll see you there. As always, keep on rolling solo.